benza sato samaya manu palaya benza sato tenopa tiskari no me bawa soto kayo me bawa soto chayo me bawa Anarato me bawa sarva siddhe me parayesa sarva karma susa me siddham shiyam kuru ahara ho bangave sarva tata gata beza ma me beza beza bawa ma samaya sato
All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and all those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merits of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of the happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. I beseech the great Vajradhara, Tilopa, Naropa, Marapa, Milarupa, Gampopa, Pakmudrupa, Lord Jiten Songkont, at the feet of the root guru, who possesses the three ways of kindness, and all the root gurus and spiritual masters of the lineage, the Idams and Dhamma protectors. May your marvelous blessings permeate my mind.
Tawgi Duji Yajarazana, Yamala Japanabas, Yanamada Vedibaga, Shadijabe Yanaka, Savansa, Yagarbenji Polaka, and Yapimana Nakaland. Todolonazano Karanzo, Jerembajala, Zanza, Shivan Kalan, Cherokee, Zebo, and Tazalina Boy, Jared Nibakonasan. Kajurum Bajela, Zanza, Jemeza, the Jangoda, Mandashizan Bajadava, Tamji, Punji, Yamin, the Gorin, Zanza, Show me, Chiji, in Japarana, the Sanjagun, Yaran, Sabalame Yala, Zanza, doesn't be the choosing lovers in Jalazo, Chilam lovers in Jalazo, Lanchuva, Severs in Jalas, Trova years and Javers in Jalado. Teni Tomad Chirot Tamalan, some Tahi Delish Tande. Ta Tering Aransota. A Tomad Samagatani, number Tapa, Samba, Sancho Simju, Simbukone, Teni, Sino Hijatang, Teni Kanki Simbas of Chune, Teni Kanzaki, Umban Sangi or Sipala, Teni. 산지 좀 된데 이제 까대노선 탐지기 힘보 찍的 들어와 되네 담치 사자 지봉아딘서 체벌파보다 주 제요대요래 된데 되네 대라양되네 흥로다 의준조 섬유법감네 다라값서 바바 다랑아 흥로 인스 흥로 대라양 투몽 소용으로 로도 넘버 2 투몽 난경으로 되니 잠로 도셈 멘더 라만남조 이 되니 체퍼지 혼로 되니 섬유법감네 되나 체퍼지 혼로 되니 삼바든 인제 산주지 셈 섬유법감네 되니 또 투몽 선앙 혼로 당 Tene chepa kung hundrunane sampata chepa kondu shundrunne ta tereng kapsa papa tela tene ngaranso tara ningi ke nana yinsi ningi ke nana maashu ke yinsi chepa hundrun
So I'm a friend Tashitele. And as usual, in the beginning, cultivate a pure motivation, motivation of bodhicitta when listening to the Dharma. And I think that it is for the sake of the perfect and complete enlightenment of all. And so the Buddhist teachings that consist of the three scripture collections, that the essence of all these teachings is included within this special Dharma, the fivefold path of Mahamudra. And so the path has a preliminary, a main part, and a conclusion. And now we are in the context of the preliminaries. And we already spoke about the outer common preliminaries, which are the four thoughts that turn the mind. And then also we spoke about the inner uncommon preliminaries, which is to take refuge, then Vajrasattva, mandala offering, and Guru Yoga. And then there are the three special preliminaries, love, compassion, and bodhicitta. And so that's where we are at. We completed the outer and the inner preliminaries. And within these special preliminaries, we already spoke about love. And so today we speak about compassion.
Ngondro ke ngana so ngondro tal tas jung bondal ke was ngondro ge ning so kare ba tumo ngondro sen kare ba tumo mai ba ngondro sen kare ba to so re gen da ha ko so e to so ge dong da o tumo se ngondro sen den den de to so re le dong da den den de re sa ta tumo na ge ngondro sen on den den de re do de dong da de do sa ya 다 제발 경우로서는 가르리도 저거 돈안 드린도 삼이야 차 상황이 하모에나 지 롭sam지 하고송에스 삼기
So now we have practiced, we have studied the preliminaries for quite some time already now. And so now, do you understand what this term, the common preliminaries and the uncommon preliminaries mean? So do you know that, for example, can you say, oh, that's the outer or the common preliminaries, and then that's what each of these means, and then that's the uncommon preliminaries, and that's what each of them means. And so now these are the special preliminaries, and that's what each of them means. And so even if you don't have like a thorough, deep understanding of them, but do you all think that you have a rough understanding of them? So now basically I'm assuming that you all understand. If I would give you a test, you probably would pass.
Oh yeah, shepherd ngondro nane tenis ta samba ninges sam ninge sancho ji semsen namjo ta nga so tikpa chimbi chu nyamne sin de tan me na ta tap chapa ta yona ti chopa samde ninge sancho ji semse te imbas te endu tenis samba ko khachanga so ta samba sena kandi imba tenis samba de tambo lobyong gomde tenis 탑 간내직 띠네 되는 아주 삼바데 공고 유바 되네 타서 없잖아 예 쉬운데 파리 된데 되네 되네 닌지도 쉬운데 닌지도 삼바데 코니 빼자사다 손자온도 치리도 타 삼바데 가장 안서 삼바 세나 오 심징게 되어다 딘두 로데 코타 삼바 리디요 다 닝게 센드 심지 탐지 동하게 잔두 로텔라티 닝게 스기요르바 삼다 닝게 센드 테네 다 값 바바 닝게 인드 테네 다 닝게 때다 넘바 산제 추다 드나네 코 티파 침브나네 다 공가사 다 속사나 인자오데 닝제데 차용고요래 아 추기 용딘 탐지 다 닝지 때를 때네 다 소리 용딘 때 용고요래 다 파랑기 주 드바 자야데 고 닝지 때네 파닝 장용고도 왔어 닝지 때네 닝지를 때네 파 드바 장용고도 왔어 닝지 같이 요나더니 대잠지게 되는 나그 드바테 다 투고요 닝지데 시다면나더니 드바테 시다 다 투고요 말해스 아 되네 나라서 흘라리 고나 내가 나이제래 내가 흘라리 고나 고 닝지 요나 고 닝지람서 달라 오늘 곰 시디도 와 어때 되네 삼닝지데 하짱게 내가 첨부요 다랑 안서 따라 달로만 보지 따라 예담 흘라 잡고 고면 또 수삼로 땅고 여러분 흘라 잡고 또 곰도 지나서 남주 달라 잡고 또 빼 파다나더니 지기 첨부 빼 메콩그나나 요데 봤더니 샤당데 봤더니 진제데 봐 더니 살았더니 춘찬 잠만다 존데 봐다 현황 차오 요리 남는데 요리 야 파드는 지기 첨부 요리 남는데 던드 요리 봤더니 뭐 망보지 했더니 다오 땅나라 잡고 고면더니 나 누바 첨부 차사래 저와 아 던드 삼용도 와 나라 pe nipa hla nipa chimbo yore de ngana nipa chimbo chagri samya tendre yingu de endi testi samno de no yingu yore was hla de chapo chaya de garesina ko hingi hatjang hingi chimbo tobge tene hla showa tan chapo se ya de so yingu yore yonti chibare ten hla cha den trisena ko hingi rabde tene hingi rabde chen jen de tene ko hla chapo namba sine tene simji don drum ngoro den tene nipa seata sinap seate ngagi ningjel tene tene flat sinap de so yongo yoro ngara ningi chimbo yona tene pe flat njob yundo den tene ningi de hachangge pe tikpa chimbo nyamne sigi yona re sangha nyamne sigi yona re ta mi de mrawa cha yongo yore 다른 안에서지 상화도서 냠내신 담보 훈로도서 인지 민지 냠스 링고야 대야 내가 드니키는 거 담보 레중제 삼흥지 사초심 대소야 뭐 하고 드니 디디니 상화클라 그래서 드니 냠내신 드니 빼 약보 차고 여러와 대 마도 마기 시다 빼 담보 레중제리 삼흥지 그래서 야보 고마 추차드니 람상 올라테 곰나 빼 누바 쳔보 차사리 빼 sanap chimbo yungu sam tene tendechi tene an samsanga ke la gom shimashi tene drum mandu so yungu yorwa tene tambo mai koron bai ginro tene lakpa tara sam hinje tene rang ge jula cho yakun jatna tene pe sama la goya la ya tene mi thami ba tene chago yores rang ge drupa jaya la kondu hyun ba pe chazo ko ningje te 요나 때문에 안 그렇게 다 투고 요소래. 배는 가서때 파파 토미 세계다 진동 존이라는 데니 파파 토미 콩 기자첩 상방 공부 로 망볼 저거 로 망볼 저네 데니 하장 단 접투사 말이 있으면 데니 던지 종아를 봐로 파지 로 거전 좀 던지지 좀 되는 타마라 공개 되는 자차 상방고 혀즈 가르지 제르세나 되니 초지 공매 르네 버잡데 여러분 버잡 되니 공 hingi 침보제네 주드 미비 hingi 침보제네 되니 디 버드 레야 치드니 치 누글라는 버세사리스는 되니 केके दान तिनी छ बतले या चेले तिनी जुनी 맥점 तिनी 점버스 यासें데 तिनी जुनी जेति छोक रोल तुगयो माता 가래 이나 섬직 맥 당직 다한데 तिनी जसब सं방 को 현지로 다 텐지인도 तिनी 코란타 पे जोन बोल drop chuni drop marabata yitang ro che de yorwa yitang che tereng samang gumunjin tene petes che sem kalla go ta tes chowen number che nge china jun ko dubai tene chiran drop marab tende che tede jongsong ya shu de o chiran ningje ma che ne tene drop ma ta pa tende ri so tereng chiran ningje ngune che so tene chiran drop chapsang pa da ne tene kong thong tu go ma to kong tak par chiran chala yo re so tene drop de ta ma da tene ji ta ma to chong tini 지난 hingi 다 다른 hingi 첨부 제리 뒤도 된 드바 찹상 다네 tini 공기 타바던 종아리에서 너들은 hingi 디요나 그랑 드바에 다 타바던 요요레스
So so we are in the special preliminary practices, which consists of love, compassion, and bodhicitta. And we always say normally that whatever practice we engage in, whether it is a Mahayana practice or a Vajrayana practice, the bodhicitta is really indispensable. You can't do without it. And if you only have that, it is sufficient. So the other day we spoke about love, how love arises. So we learned about what love is and methods, ways to cultivate love, to meditate on love. And so today we continue with the next one, which is compassion. And so essentially love and compassion are quite similar. So love is the wish for the happiness of all sentient beings. And compassion is the wish to separate all sentient beings from suffering. So today we speak about compassion. And so compassion is really the life vein, like kind of the life force vein of the Buddha's teachings, of the Mahayana teachings. And all the qualities of the Dharma arise from compassion. And it's also through compassion that we purify our obscurations. So the stronger one's compassion, the more obscurations one will be able to purify. And likewise, if one doesn't have so much compassion, then one will also not be able to purify so many obscurations. So, for example, some people, they like to practice a deity. And so actually the accomplishment of the deity also depends on compassion, because the deity is an embodiment of compassion. And if you have compassion, then you also know how to properly practice a deity. So also this practice has really its essential point in love and compassion. Many people like to practice the wrathful deities. And when we look at those wrathful deities, we think that they look so magnificent. They are in these masses of fire and their mouth is open and they have these bulging eyes and so on, and hold weapons in their hands. So maybe it seems very formidable, maybe scary, but also very impressive. And so then people might think that, or if I practice this powerful deity, then I will also become very powerful. So we think that because the wrathful deity is so powerful, and when we practice it, that we also become really powerful. And so that thinking is mistaken, because also the wrathful deity is a manifestation of intense compassion, of great compassion. So generally the peaceful and the wrathful deities have really the same qualities, but the wrathful deity's compassion is extremely strong. They are infuriated with compassion. So that's the essence of the wrathful deity. And even though they appear that way, if we see that crucial point, it is the wrathful deities manifest out of great compassion in order to benefit sentient beings. And the powers and the blessings of all the deities is the same. So therefore, if I cultivate compassion, then it's from that I will receive the blessings of the deity. So in other words, if you practice the deity with great compassion, you will accomplish the deity. And compassion is really crucial for the practices of the Mahayana and the Vajrayana alike. You can't do without it. It's indispensable. And especially in the practice of the Vajrayana, of the secret mantra, it's really necessary. So also for the Vajrayana practice, the preliminary practices really are necessary. For example, it is necessary to first understand karma really well and to have a foundation of love and compassion of bodhicitta. And then on the basis of that, if you practice the Vajrayana deity, then your practice will be well accomplished. Otherwise, if you don't really think so much about karma and you don't pay much attention to cultivating love and compassion, and you might just think that I practice this powerful deity because then I myself will become really powerful and I myself will receive really great blessings. So in this way, actually the deity will not appear as it is to us. We will not accomplish the deity if you practice it in this way. We need to have the foundation and we need to go step by step and really integrate love and compassion into our mind stream. So therefore, the practice of the Vajrayana deity really requires this foundation of love and compassion. And it is, as you mentioned before, only through compassion that we purify our obscurations. There's a story about Asanga who practiced Maitreya for about 9 years. And he practiced and practiced and he never accomplished Maitreya. And finally he lost heart and he felt I will never accomplish him. And so in the end, Maitreya appeared to him. But why did he appear to him? It was when Asanga had already given up, and then on the road he saw a sick dog, that the dog's lower body was kind of rotten and infested by maggots, bugs. And when he saw that, really an unbearable great compassion arose within him, and he wanted to free that dog from that suffering. He wanted to take off the maggots from the dog's body. But he thought that if he would just wipe them off with his hand, then he would kill the maggots. And so he decided to lick them off with his tongue. But because it was quite a sight, he closed his eyes and he reached out with his tongue to lick off the maggots, but then he never touched the body of the dog. And so then when he wondered where's the body, and he opened his eyes, and what he saw is Maitreya. And first he was a little disappointed. He expressed his disappointment to Maitreya, and he said that for so many years, for such a long time, I have tirelessly practiced you, and I've never seen your face. And just only now you show yourself to me. And Maitreya said, that's because you have not cultivated great compassion until now. That's why you never saw me. Today, you developed real compassion arose within you, and all your obscurations were cleared away. That's why you can see me. But actually, I've always been with you to begin with. It's just that you couldn't see me due to your obscurations. But I was always there. And compassion cleared away all of these obscurations, and now you can see me. So in brief, the way he really accomplished Maitreya is through compassion in the end. So when you cultivate compassion, then that is how you purify all obscurations.
다추 탐지 나도 롭병 쓰기로 하나 남주 롭병 망보 쓰기로 추르 도난 지요래 추르 대바 지요래 너나 가리고 그래서는 나기 줄라 되니 닝게요 빠지 차토고다 너나 되니 닝게요 빠지 차 연구요나 당가 심줄을 처럼 닝기 체는 로고요나 다 때에서 나는 좀 난주 하고인 거였다. 난주가 나네 특받침부터 하고인 거였. 드네 때에 되네 닝기대야 공포다야. 닝기대 쇼체를 다야는 대 메소 지거스. 대 닝기대요나 다 담배 취등네 하고요송. 닝기요나 되네 담배 취고 용디야 요래서. 당가 나랑기 취 럽용 로 망볼 신냠니 로 망볼 진도도 단로치 가래 고르스나 다 닝게 된걸 같이 지hen도다 얘나 가장나서 달아 산치고레스 잠로스 농고레스 도르지셈바 곰데치고레스 되는가라서 멘더사고레스 라만 남주 냠니 지고스 더 참아 지고스 다도 참아 지인도 다 단로 진갈 가래 레고도 직다고다 단로지 가르리고도 직다한데 당한 닝기데 체른로도사 닝기데 심지 탐질 때 체른로도 사면로 중앙이나 다 중문로데 빼 야보차디오다 다 지나 로도 남예 야본로디요레 지랑기다 티모마이 bunro yen 야보리디요다 지나 로데 빼 딱딱 로디요레 당가랑게 빼 남주 다 sla공야야 망보지 나랑게 집중 좀 망고미야 지네즈 고미야 산지에 밤이 고미야 단도나 라자 본다 냠니시야 망부지기여 남주 예당도 클라스 다도 망부지인데 당가 줄은 닝게데 같이 야한도도다 다 닝게데 야데 야젠로드나 다라데 선저빙고요다 때 단로다 때 용고요다 대인도 근데는 닝게라 따니 당하고 취드 냠니 같이 리도도 나랑 따고 참 장알 근데 진이 용도 당하 근데 취대점 네 럽병테 진 냠니 대진 론더 잔리선들이 담망보 대진 당하 취든 줄롱 시도에 노르도에 간저리기도 생각 좋아 저 용도 나를 때서 태som 도바 용도 여러다 다 근데 저사요나 진짜 약보르와 나 저상가 give 힘이 저사요나 약보리 대진득이 이내야 저와 진안다 마디난다 코 링 가레리스나 저사요나 리미나 링데 가레리스나 치라 닝게데 같이 야진도 그러와 나때 링데 다 치랑 닝게데 때서 야진도 되다나 다 치랑기 추냠는 법용 가르치오는 자차 전대요다 다 닝기데 기다 야진도 미나 다동다 때서 쇼야고다 쇼 맞아봐이나 시다 건네 네도 치는 로투고 미는 거다 된다 닝게 때나더니 인증 민게 때는 닝게데 ngakju는 ngak komportang res 닝게 요나 추고 용디 탐게드스나 탐게드는 용구요스 배는 돈 가르송도세나 강라 삼반 치바 라 춘치 삼바요나 될 춘치스 강라 닝긴 치바라 산초브제 셈 치소스 닝게 요나 산초브제 셈 치스 강라 산초브제 셈 치바 될 산진 치소스 단 도나 가르송고 도나 가르송고스나 치랑라 삼바요나 치랑게 줄라 담배 추요레스 치랑라 닝기요나 텔레테네 치랑라 산초치 셈요레스 치랑라 산초치 셈요나 다 치나 산지 차레스 다 돈다 되는도스 데데데 닝게 다 학경데 내가 친구 차요레 닝기요나 치랑 다 주기용데 상마요레스
And so compassion is therefore extremely important, and really our development in the Dharma depends really on how much our compassion increases. So we all study the Dharma, and we are very interested in the Dharma. We have devotion to the Dharma. But in brief, what is it that we need? accomplish through Dharma practice. We need to increase our compassion. And if you look at your mind and you feel that your compassion, my compassion is increasing, then you have really understood the Buddha Dharma. And then you have understood the Mahayana. And so the kind of the measure to take is as to, if you want to see how your Dharma is progressing, is by looking how your compassion is progressing. If you make an effort in compassion and if it increases, then you really understand the qualities of the Holy Dharma. And all the qualities really arise from that, all the good qualities. So we might have studied the Dharma and practiced the Dharma for many years. What is the sign that we need to find in our mind? You need to see, do I have compassion? How much compassion do I have? How is my compassion increasing? So recently we have said that we have to prostrate and take refuge, and we have to practice Vajrasattva and accumulate the mandala, and we have to practice the Guru Yoga. We have to do all of these practices. And so the sign of accomplishing any of these practices is compassion. So you look at your own mind. Is my compassion getting stronger? My compassion for all sentient beings? And if so, then your preliminary practices are really well accomplished. And then you really have integrated the four thoughts that turn the mind and so on. And then you've really perfectly then practiced the four uncommon preliminaries. And also when it comes to deity practice. So for example, we practice many different deities such as Tara or Chinrizik or Amitabha or various wrathful deities. So we practice Yidam deities. And also in the Yidam deity practice, we have to ask ourselves, how much compassion do I have? How is my compassion improving? And if your compassion is improving, then that is a sign that you are accomplishing the deity. So this is what you need to look at when it comes to your progress in the Dharma practice. Sometimes people ask me questions about their progress in the Dharma practice, and they say, like, I have practiced and studied the Dharma for that many years. Am I doing it correctly, or am I making mistakes? So people still have some doubts about that, about their own practice. And of course, if you have somebody to ask, then that's excellent, it's fine. But also, you should ask yourself, you can find the answer really in yourself. How is my compassion improving? How has my compassion been improving through this practice? And this is exactly where you will find your answer. If you think that, well, my compassion has a little bit improved, and then with 100% certainty, no matter what Dharma you are studying or practicing, then it is you're doing fine, you're not mistaken. But then if you think that, well, even though I've practiced for so many years, my compassion is not really improving that much, then you still have to make more effort in cultivating compassion. Because then the practice has not yet actually kind of hit a crucial point of practice. And so the crucial point is that your compassion needs to improve, it needs to increase. And it is only from that all the blessings, qualities of the Dharma arise. In the sutras, it is said, whoever possesses love possesses the Dharma, and whoever possesses whoever possesses compassion possesses bodhicitta. And whoever possesses bodhicitta possesses the Buddha, meaning that if you have love, you have the Dharma. And if you have compassion, you have bodhicitta. And if you have love and compassion, then you will become a Buddha. So compassion is really an essential point in our practice. All the qualities of the Dharma come from compassion.
Jula Machiba Yina, Tinanga Drupaya, Tatu Yamare. Nanata Namju dancing cigar, dancing and shake to Yamare. Yimping a loss, say at them, Kuningi the Mina, Yimping the Jehumaras. Then Yimping matches the Sancho Sinti and woman was, then the time Ningi the Hakang getting. The mean Tami, when the metal on what you gonna metal sound out Ningi Chago, Sancho's Julie Jagona, Sancho's and sound out the Ningi Chagadoa. The name then the Ningi the Hajangi kitchen, but Ningi, you're nothing of a chunyamni, see, here you see to go in yours. Penamatsu Zupan, which Gongona. Zuba Gomian, let home to us. Now, Ningi Yona Zuba, thinking gone to better. Penangana the Namju, the Jikila Magawan Ravata, Kunzin Ravata, Chadon Ravata, no Sem Ravata, Din Sem Ravata, Jinyo Jayurvas. That they Tamjik Nimbon Ravate, Karisenas, Tamjik Nimbon Ravate, Tara Ningi. Churana Ningi Une Yona Chiran Kunzi lower the Chiran Kunzi Jenaya, Shedan Jenaya. They ma shik to wear, ma shik to wear. Tabar Senat and Kunzi the Devil. Ningi Mena, the Ninga Semna Kunzi and Chado, they said some mambo, the good, no mambo, corn, Tarangan, dancing said the no mambo and Sangdo Chicha. Danzi said the penna, can you lose a guitarati, thus bend or chenetini, can you mambo lone, so the rock or thus been. Or dancing tena is in it. The same on the Namaratin, Jin Sem, Ta, Ransola, Chapa, Jensola, Dangwa, No Sem, Kunzi, La Supasama, Tamango Yura, Yomo, Sama, Sen on the Zondi. Tate pa mi pas in a shigona, or Zondi on a Pacale, Lulus, Nagona. Tapchi Tony Tavala Sopato, then Indian Le Laura, that Tony Mato Bangana to Kansas, Sinki, Mona. That carry Tamla carry listen, Tamla Ningi. Chirangane Ningi Jayana, the nating Kunzi Sama, my hit to water. Ningi Korang Hindu. Karechene Kunzing here Chisaki Yurji Euro, Chado and Dinsen Chisaki Yurji Euro was. Oh, that Ningi wanted to solo Ningi Jay Urua. Ninji, Penanga, Yen and Kunzin Chiguyona. Oh, that Korang Lang in Basan and Kunzi Chigu chair was. Tangazo Ningi Mina con Kunzin in Zunguerta. Ningi Yuna, oh, that Koran non Jason Ningi, Korang Lang in Basason, some. Rua Une Korang Pamka Kurson, some. Rua Korang Ala Nuche Tayate. Nala the Gablin chase on in a cableting a calicali donny to us. In a Korang Lang in Basason, some. Rua, that teletin Koran. Dunghanyungri something Ningi Koran Pamka Kursong some Rakoran non church, Koran Pamsong, Rua, that Koran Ninji. They thought Chiran Ningi Jayana, Chiran Kunze, they are on a shingle. Their courage is a Ningi de Shigota. No Yimba Nala, no say courage in one. Keja Marabi in one. Song about courage in one. Nala Ningi de Yuna. Think on Kunzi Chigio. 맞아 zupa gom 세도 zupa ngone gom 원은 다 닝지 그 닝지 요나 닝지 top 되게 때 zupa gom top 다도 콜다 나 닝지 지여로 다 닝지 지와를 때네 나 코랑 때는 거는 나를 핀토로 나 닝지 지야 제소 닝지 지야겠다 핀다 소스 될 때는 나 레드 바 망부 찬소스 얘는 다 코랑 레니 바사 소스 때는 닝지 지 되게 다 닝지를 때는 때는 다 군진대 현도도 와시 데 닝지에 다 하장 때는 민 탑미 봐 다 티바 침분하는 다 미나 탐이 저기 요래서 닝지 요나 다 지랑났더니 오늘 티바 침부 취치랑 게 요래 요래서 단 너는 가르쳐 거 요래서나 아 주양다 버티분 너는 산제 토반은 누바에 산제 토반 누베 추망불라 lappan 마저서 다 추직라 lappadjos 추직라 lapres lappadjos 대 강해나 닝지 침보 추직라 라고 추직대 가르레스나 닝지레스 강아 닝지 침보 요바텔라 산지지 추탐지 란터도 요바탈 저로서 단 너드는 가서 산지지 추 롭종 신 두고 요나스 당가서 망고 롭고 말이스 얘는 찍라고 추직랑 찍라고 그랬어 직장직대 가르쳐 닝지레스 닝지 침보대 다 닝지 침보도 로바체나 다 주랑 게 산지기 요데 차상을 지는 게 줄로 또 특별해스 론다 되는지 되는데 닝지다 닝지 미지 내가 지금 저기요레스 된두 되는 닝지 제야라 남 베소스 쇼가야 라운드네 되는 거나 생지 참만한 닝지 제로 나랑 그 나무 뿌다 날 가래 난 콜페네 야뭐 가게 나는 심지 돈도 속 차요라 솔란 닝지고 근데 레칸로 살라양 닝지지 참만 닝지지 로 근데 드르시 닝지도 자치르치르로 그래서 지고레스
So when you if you do not possess compassion in your mind, then you will also not purify your obscurations, your negativities, because if compassion is related to altruism, and if you do not have compassion, then altruism also cannot arise in the mind, and therefore self-grasping cannot diminish. So without altruism, bodhicitta cannot arise. So therefore, compassion is really indispensable. It's like, for example, if you want to grow a flower, you need to have that seed. And the flower is like bodhicitta. So if you want to grow the flower of bodhicitta, you need the seed of compassion. So it's really very important to cultivate compassion. If you have compassion, then you understand the practice of Dharma, and then you are able to practice the Dharma. And also, when it comes to cultivating patience, so being patient is not that easy, is it? But if you have compassion, then you surely will be able to also cultivate patience. So normally there are interpersonal difficulties. So sometimes we feel resentful towards someone, or we feel jealous, or there's a lot of negative thoughts about others. Others harm each other, and there is competitiveness. So there's a lot of afflictive emotions that arise in dependence on other people. And the antidote to all of them is compassion. If you possess true compassion, then even if like a moment of resentment or anger arises in your mind, you will be able to quickly let go of it. The resentment, that this negative feeling cannot stay if you cultivate compassion. But of course, if you have no compassion, then you will accumulate many thoughts of anger and resentment and jealousy and so on. And all of these negative thoughts arise from self-grasping. Self-grasping is kind of like the nest of the afflictive emotions, or like it's like a dustbin. So in the dustbin, you accumulate all kinds of garbage. And so it's like the vessel, like the nest, where you kind of accumulate all various things. And so self-grasping is like this dustbin wherein you accumulate all kinds of negativities, like competitiveness and negative thoughts, and also an attachment to your own side and an aversion against the other side, many harmful thoughts, many thoughts of resentment, and so on. All of that is accumulated within this mind of self-grasping. And the way to eliminate it, therefore, is through cultivating compassion. When you have compassion, then it will go away, this vessel of self-grasping. And also, if you want to practice any dharma, whatever you practice, or whatever dharma you engage in, you need to cultivate compassion to purify all negativities. Of course, once you have realized emptiness, then it's very easy. But anyone who has not realized emptiness, normal people, for them compassion is really indispensable. You can't do without it. And if real compassion arises in you, then naturally all resentments and negative thoughts will naturally collapse. And why is that? So there is this object, or like this person that you are angry at, or there's this person that you are jealous at or competitive with, and so on. And when compassion arises to that person, then naturally these negative thoughts cannot stay in the mind. Even if a negative thought arises, if you really feel compassion for that person, then you will feel that, oh, this person who is harming me is just accumulating a lot of negative karma, and as a result, he will experience a lot of suffering. So I really feel for him. I feel bad for him. So that's how you would feel when you have compassion. If you have no compassion, then you will just hold on to the negative feeling. If you have compassion, then you will recognize that actually this person is really ruining himself by accumulating so much negative karma. So even though maybe it seems that now he's harming me and maybe he caused some trouble to me, but if I just keep cultivating compassion, then I can accept that, I can tolerate that. But he, on the other hand, is accumulating a lot of negative karma, and he will experience suffering as a result in the future. So really, it's his own loss. It is his mistake. And so I really feel compassion. I feel bad for this person. So when this feeling of compassion arises, then in that very moment, that this negative feeling, the resentment, is already gone. And it's compassion that has destroyed it. So no matter what other people do to us, to harm us, to hurt us, maybe they speak to us in an unkind way, or they do all kinds of negative things, no matter what, if you cultivate compassion for them, then you will not feel resentful toward them. And that's really where patience arises from. If you want to cultivate patience, truly, you need to have compassion. It's through the power of compassion that patience arises. So therefore, then you would see the person in a different way. You would think that if you have compassion, then you would actually feel that this person actually benefited me, because it's through the person that I was able to cultivate compassion. And if I cultivate compassion, I am able to purify many obscurations, much negative karma. But he, on the other hand, through hurting me, has accumulated a lot of negative karma. So he will suffer from that. And so I feel compassion for that. And if you think in this way, then the resentment will go away. So the compassion, especially in Mahayana practice, you really can't do without it. It's extremely important. And so it's really what has to be accomplished in the mind as a practitioner of the Mahayana. Also in the sutra, it is said that in the sutra called the purification, like the purification through the Dharma. through viewing the Dharma. And so it says that if anyone who wishes to attain Buddhahood doesn't need to learn so many different Dharma practices. You need to learn one really well though. And this one Dharma that you need to know really well is cultivate great compassion. And therefore, whoever possesses great compassion has all the qualities of a Buddha right in the palms of their hands. So all the qualities of the Buddha will definitely arise in that person's mind stream. So therefore, we need to see the crucial point, how essential compassion is. And seeing that, we must make an effort in cultivating it. For example, in the morning when you wake up, cultivate compassion for all sentient beings, starting with those around you, like your family members, your children, and so on. Some people have pet animals, and then you cultivate compassion for them. And when you go to work, you cultivate compassion for your colleagues. You cultivate compassion for everyone. And so in this way, gradually, your compassion will increase.
닝게 때고 진시단 레고도 하서 만나 진시단 만들어 이나 근데 한 참석고 만나도 다 뇽몽바 답변에 셰당당 차도 다 누심라수부터 심난 망보 여러 봐 그래서 되네 지고 여러 봐 진시도 요대 봐이나 다 매직 나로 선노 센도 지제만이나 진시 미나 되는 남상아 파야 누세시에 삼는 코용으로 와스 진시 때 생송나 되는 남상아 다 그런 노르송아스 나랑 hingi 지기로 왔어 되는데다 hingi가 좋은로다 진시 개와 탐지가 좋으리 진시대 그 라바드 hingi 냠니시인데 되는 진시대 니퍼고요레스 진시대 요나 오 매직 나라 말아 라용아이나 양알 노치 제마이나 들 남사 hingi 제트고 그 진시대 요로 하고로 왔어 그런 노르드 하고로 진시 미나 때는 나랑 그 파노스 시기로 왔어. 진시 요나 땅에 코르노스 지고 말았어. 코란 땅 노스 제서래. 된 남사 인지 지기다. 되네 인지 때 대한 진시 단데 되니 진시세난다 곰디 세나다 가나서 남주 박차 라고요 박차세. 게버 박차. 메게버 박차. 저당 말을 희가 요런 남주 베나 막하힐라다 쇼가 야란드네 쇼자는 이빠드 되니 코핀 통고야 그냥 희가지도 때 박차래 담보치랑 아마 부분 돈지랑 되고 말아 거기데 되니 지랑 야치에서 되니 된통 되니 거 고문에 되니 야 답은 통고야 그렇지 가기야 다만 튀기도 다만 튀야 되는데 진 고문으로 그래 담보 다만 튀니까 연구요 말 봤어 대 고문서 되니 배만 튀는 데 말 봤더니 연구도 왔어 되는데 되니 give 박차 먹give 박차 된다 다 민기에 대한 그 셈 주를 된데 신의 야제 땅 용화이나 다 되지는 give 박차차다 되니 민기에 대 박차자다 민기에 공부 치르서 되니 담봉하면서 민기 충충 제 되니 때 답보 야보제 야제서는 되니 민기 침보 되니 민기 담보 mikpachi 닝제제 심지 여지를 닝제에서 여징통 닝제에서 여징통나 nga 닝제제로 여 강이지 통나 되니 때 공공은 퍼데 다 mikpa 미비 닝제시 되니 라미 라이가 그 셈나는 되니 닝제 요대바 요나리 미나리 셈나는 닝제라 이 요대바 때 검송을 와 어떤지 저는 공고여레스 대답다 닝기데 담보는 가서 닝기 침보 요 말은 닝기 충분히 가서 뭐 참말로 로아 말이 나가서 따라 몇살이나 요 배는 든도 속차도 솔로 요래서 就当人家穷穷，等着说去变大的这拉是吧？给他他们讲了，人家都是有了，可能是不了，人家几多是，对，长了人家也有的是，因为呢，当俺说人家的呀，他也接当的 comfort 当的，俺个不几波满意吧，俺那么几波满意吧，因他们这了吧，等人家的价值了当的。근데 진짜 그 공부 때 담보 ningi 충충 때 짜침 못 써. ningi 충충 지 짜침 못 쓰네. 단데 뭐네. 노르나 인삼 ningi ngal ningi 충충 윤주다. 나는 그거는 윤띠라고 다 대인삼 줘. 날 따라 요는 미는 당가 윤띠라고 된 엄마데 나티 ningi 데 인삼 때 ningi 데 다보야 보자. 공부야 못 tanti 치고. 내가 뭐네 수남세 대리 있어다. give 셈데 수남레 있어다. Control some singe lap say at there is your. I'll give semtia, guessing kitchen magia. Ningi kitchen magia.
This kong at this kitchen song the nguma yuntin teens titsatu.
I'll you mean you think nothing I'll deus ningiting. I'll you the ningiting and I'll you mean that John over 90 days. Don't guessing kitchen, ningi kitchen magia, there tamjia, moon sunam. Control some singe lap alatin ningita. Give us some tea, some weird. 다른 중주는 송요래. 빼는 치는 친구나는
Kitchen song.
고도에
Tanati yang nguma teens yang che song titsatu. Kondo ngat kawari che.
빼나 중주는 송요아스 친구나는 따라 빼 마름 나눠들이 론총데 끼끼끼를 거 뜻은 당다 로건 당통투여로 끼끼끼 충빼 하장 끼끼 공통지 고도에
다 kodo kondo yang kya yang sum chiti nguma teens sang.
왜 중교는 송구요래 닝지 충충지 제와이나야 다때 콘초스인지 신질라바레스 게버심 충충지 제와이나 콘초스인 그 신질라바 문제 수나는 때는 니 게셈데 닝지도 스키요래서 베데 가르송스 중교는 뺀 남카니 로 치나 뺀 마름나 론총데 끼끼끼 통도 차가도와 베티나 인가게 줄을 게셈 끼끼마 대잠지 제와 이나야 때는 콘초스인 신라브레서 근데 ningi 짜치 뭐 이거 하고 근데는 이거 나쁘지 않은 컴포트한 거래스
이 준juk nana kare song song ge.
중조 나나 빼나 지나 많은 남카를 론총 연구와 어 양총디 때 전에 통투거라 주 통통질라 이게 통투부 짜람사지 작어요 대 잠지 게생 게임 티티용 잠지 제와이나야 근데 때 콘조스임지 지나미스 콘조스임지 지나를 때는 닝기 기징 마디 제요레스 하고디바
다음 다같이 che song that 다같이 되게 돼요. So then, sorry, my internet was a bit interrupted. So then, compassion is, so in order for us to cultivate compassion, we also need to rely on mindfulness. Because if you do not have, if you're not mindful, then many afflictive emotions arise in the mind all the time. And we get angry and we get jealous and we have harmful thoughts, negative thoughts against others and so on. And then if you're not mindful and then another person comes to hurt you, then immediately you will fight back and you will hurt the other person. But if you're mindful, then immediately you will recognize, oh, this person trying to harm me, it's really his mistake. And he is accumulating much negative karma, so it's really his own downfall. So immediately compassion arises when you're mindful. So mindfulness is really the kind of the support, the companion of compassion. And mindfulness really should accompany all of our virtuous activities, especially the practice of compassion. And so, for example, if you are mindful and a person offends you or harms you in any way, then immediately, because you're mindful, you would remember compassion, and you will recognize that the other person actually made a mistake, and you will not think about like fighting back or hurting them in return. So then you would think that even though this person maybe is trying to harm me, actually he's really harming himself, and he's really harmed himself by trying to hurt me. So in this way, through mindfulness, we form a habit of compassion. So we have to habituate ourselves to it. So we speak about these imprints, these habitual patterns. So there's virtuous imprints and there's non-virtuous imprints. For example, like people have different kind of traits, personality traits, things that they do. For example, some people, they have to drink a cup of coffee as soon as they get up in the morning, and they can't do without it. It's because of this imprint. It's a habitual pattern. It's not that the moment they were born to their mothers and already they needed coffee. That started later on after they grew up, and then they start drinking coffee, and then they got used to it, and then they always need to drink coffee. Or some people are smoking cigarettes. And it's not like they're born with this habit. It's not like they're born and already they want to smoke cigarettes. It's something that they kind of grow used to in their lives. But then once they are addicted to it, they can't give it up. They can't be without it. So that's a habitual imprint and like a habit. There's virtuous and non-virtuous habits that we have. And compassion is also such a tendency, a habitual pattern that we need to form in the mind, a virtuous pattern. And so when you habituate to it, it will increase. So in the beginning, maybe our compassion is small, but it's that small compassion that we need to recognize and hold on to. And when we hold on to it, then it increases and it becomes great compassion. So in the beginning, our compassion is, and it's called the conceptual compassion, meaning that, so compassion arises when you see someone who suffers, when there's an object of compassion, then you feel compassion. But then if you habituate to it and it increases more and more, eventually it becomes like natural compassion, like a non-conceptual, unconceptual compassion. It's just naturally there in your mind. And it does not depend on an object. So even if there is no object of compassion, there still is compassion. It's because you have habituated to it. So this is how we need to train in it. In the beginning, we don't have great compassion. However, we all have some compassion. We have some small compassion. Everyone has that. Even animals have some compassion. Even like tigers and like leopards, like carnivorous animals, they also have some compassion for their children. And it is just that we need to increase this compassion and think that it's not just compassion that you have for your child or that you only have for your family, but compassion should be for all. And in this way, you increase compassion. So the way to increase it is by first recognizing even that small moment of compassion in your mind, recognize that as something very precious. Think that this is my precious jewel that I have, I need to increase. And really if you have some compassion, then you can think that if I have any quality, anything good about me, it's really because I have compassion. This is really what makes me have good qualities. So in the Bodhicharyavatara, it says that when even just a moment, an instant of virtue arises in the mind, that should be considered as the blessing of the three jewels, which is just like, for example, at night time, when you see like a flash of light, even if it's just for a flash of a moment, a very short time, it still has this quality of light, and you can see in this moment, in the nighttime. And so the slightest moment of compassion should be seen as something really very precious. And then seeing it that way, you're able to increase it. So even the slightest moment of compassion, even an instant of compassion, is said to be the blessing of the three jewels.
닝기 곰도 소봉고 심지 탐질 공고레스 다 같은 삼바 곰바니 기빠지냐 삼바 곰데 근데 담보랑게 마트니 심지 탐지 마마즈베 찍장미 근데 심지 탐질 삼바 공고도 와스 베 디나이 다들 닝기데 디 나이세네 근데 담보랑게 마라 닝기 곰투부로 와스 랑게 마 근데 닝기 곰도 되네 가딘 넘버 you want mark cutting number year to so dream ro cutting year you cutting the current losing between so sympathy then in dictating between kawachi between string number year to so dream oh then it tabata mat cutting chimbore something mat ninji chigirwa ranging chirwa smala tel mali ninji jewana yitini simji tamje la ninji patini sama je je go res tene la pa de tarang ni song sum ge la so simji tamje rang ge ma se yo bas de tamje la ninji je la pa de so rang la no se si ni de so la ni pa de tene ninji je go ta nga la pe no se si ni de tamje rang ge hama tin tin se yo 오 cutting al chimbo chang yore o da den de tsu den pa dream ma su che len cha de june ne da ra chen nu che ji yin go ro bas den de de tham de la pa de ning ji che de che na de ne rang ge sem la be rang la ping ge be ping ge ning ji che na rang la ping ge do was be na nga la ning ji ya bo yo na chirang no yin ba tere maram ro chi la ya no yin ba chirang kang che yang wa yin na chirang ning ji mi na ta chirang long shu bi lang ri ta long shu bi lang ta pe sem pam long lang ta kang yi shu bi yor sem na no la ta te kan de jing ye ling po de go ro thap shi mang bo si be zo mang bo chi ri wa kang yi shu bi yor sem chirang ning ji yo na 디 강이 디 강이 요 말바스 다도 님지 코란 논초 제소 성취 데인디 다라 코란 라비 치랑게 멋지고도 건당에 멋지고 마다 퍼포먼스 참을 거야 인다 양측데 데다더니 강이 대양 돈이 시고는 님기 고도하시 님기 좋은 초도 줄 바이네 나는 저 첸더라 야 핀바 쉬어요 다 니 삼바데 닝게 되요나 삼바데 닝게 요나 랑송와라야 니 송왕아 송와라 그러 드니 삼바데 닝게 초도 줘 봐래 yin sungwa la ya samba de hinji chod chobare ta nga su pen do chi la na dara ti toyem ne yan de teni khaship kung go labu do khal khatum jam na rang song yin chog re sung do rang song thopa yin yang chog thopa re sig do ko yin ko ran de ri do oh ta samba de hinji de dina yi re sig rang sungwa ya samba de hinji yin chobya na teni samba de hinji es rang kanri sung re ro ta pen yin ge nu se kare che yong yin na ya ngara long tan cha do she dang kun jin la so ko ji men do sem ji po do 강이 지라 sem나는 문도 왔대 랑 송아 차거도 니 송송나 제문도 나 해당 차도라서 뭐 맞아서 해당나 냐왕이 송나 제문도 나 숨고도 왔어 yin 가르쳐 버려 네 yin은 노체 지금 문도 왔어 서로 나를 yin가 노체 가르쳐야는 게 주니 판노체 지금 문도 왔어 다도 네핀 따거도 왔어 난 닝지게 그런 노소상 네핀 주도 지기도 와 yin 쪼양 차거도 왔어 다들 돈다 충충되는 일이다. 아주 충충이 되시 자체사 현 뒤치에서 연구여로. rang ko donga tamche le jorto ba yin simji tamche ko donga le jorto ba ta samba de jinji sa chu ji sim ja cher so na de chagdo was de ningi de ko no samba de ningi de so no na yi cha lo res se ya jim chi ti de ni yo da zhong chuo de ju ba yin samba ningi yin si de ta nga zo chi nam ju chu ta nyam ni lob yo mang bo si yo wa ja chen bo shi na ya bo re ja chen bo ma shi jang samba de ningi de nga lang ni pa de do da de nga nga ju le chun jar ta tar chi ro samba de ningi ju le yo na 가레레스 가레 용거레스 가레 용거레스나 당안서 남주 추 롭병스기 송구치 투다 쉐싱도 와서 남부 추 롭병 망보 세는 멋 희갈 가레 요르세나 멋 쉐싱 들어와레스 뭐 쉐싱 들어와 가르세나 끼자빼 야보시 끼진 잠보시 그래 루기 쭈라 테니페 다 깨제 시에나리 공파포는 파슨 로나 데나 빼 이동 쭈람 이동 맥도 만지바미바 루기고는 쉐킹 들어와스 먹은 돈나야 빼 당완림바 뭐 가게 쭈람 야보도 다랑하는 저 겐동바 이나야 겐동바 가게 쭈람 야보여 와스 라마타와이나 되니 뭐자 폰님나는 양 같이 줄람 빼 야보도 빼 야랍 계자 야보시야 남줄 야보 땡야 말그 샤비오 바토서 도아 되니 맞은 남부 롭ጆ스인데 되니 수 되는 거지 차고 레스가다 계자 야보시야 봐 류고는 쉐신터와 말이나 그야 남줄 야보여 봐 laksan 남다 요제다 만들어 좀 니빠도 고레스 다데 나 닝기 요나 드니 더 소용고 요레스 다 쉐신도 왔다 나 주섭용 신도 요라서 나서 곰다 녀몽미 파스 인데 다 나랑 주섭용 세들 다드 쳐 냠니스는 나게 줄을 자리용 거로 와스 나서 투삼 곰섬 쓰기요와 투삼 곰섬 쓰인데 저다 곰 냠니스는 다쳐 랑게 줄을 자는데 곰 냠니스는 나 주위 되는 걸 라고요 맞다 남주 곰 냠니스야데 남주 나게 쭈람 된 제일 초요 쭈람 고니 루 쉐신 들와 나 쉐신 들와 쭈람 이동와 이지 고니 되네 이 가래 걸다 이 삼바드 딘바 닝게다 딘바 되네 이나 핀심 슬라삼 제와다 딘바 심진 직자 니자만 정말 la data betini zewa de nimba chana ta luyan shishin tawari rila dini yi janda be hajang ge dini ko shishin tawa chayo res gonta nyomo mi ba se gonta nyomo mi ba se inde ta chu nyamni dara mangbo lobyon se te nyamni se inde ta des hedang des chungno so chado des chungno so yina nu se chi ya nu se me des chungno so 단도는 요momba 마초는 성화이나 다치랑 주대 곰다 요mom이 바나나 용구 요사레스 안데 다데다 메서랑하게 지거다 메서 마제는 홉스칼라 용약해 요 말봐 남주네 땡하게 답배 말하는 사자 찍는 로고는 곰파 찍니 섬신 판 로고도는 파진다 깜바 본 로고도 담보치는 곰파 담보 본데 렘로면도 와스 찍니 니신에 되는 판도는 타말레고도 와스 베티나기 되는 가게 따라 곰타 녀몽미 바세야티안 되는 럼파 인데니 삼바데 닝게티 치르당 진실을 띠네 때 시징하게 노르송나 다지 녀몽바 쇼치 로와 더솔 띠네 때스 다 계제 시탄에 남주 띵단에 더 노르시기래 카요 말와스 노르초그레스 이나 노르이 바하 고네 다 노르송 섬르와 타는 계제 시야 노르송로와 때스 인라 포야로 쇼송선 주바지 로와 당이 유마던들 랍고 맹사 잡잡치기 인사 로와 다 삼로 땅땅 인라 때스 누 센다고 진대서 로와 oh yenate semba na pondo yang semna te chadong de jeso shedang de jeso ti ti ngaran ding na song da ro nga yuma te ngan jwa tang gi inda ro ang tuk tuk ngaran jwa tang gi inda ti to som ta jeso wa yin ju ba je ni yuma zab zab si oh de ji gon ma to den ma je bi na pe nga chu sob jong chi pe lo mang ko se ni ta nam ju chu sob jong mang bu jin do yu pa kan je la tene shedang dan cha do dan de zone gang yang ma chung ma song wa che ro sam zin de yong go sa den na ta chum za san nan de na tene ya na pa wa yang ama nan chu lob jong ma mu chi yo ro ya na ni ya ta ya na pu ta de zo ji chu la lob jong chi chi ro aba ama chu la lob jong chi chi ro ni na ya yin no sem ne chung ko mun do cha do ne chung ko mun do shedang ne chung ro ko mun do me yin ba la ke cha ne ma ra la ko do den de rin na de non do ro den de da chi cha so na ta nan chu le ya ko mun do sa yan do ji yin ro ma yin ba ta te man de ba den de ma yin ba ro o nga pa la ma la ta nan chu lo byo ko so pe ya ko yo da ro yin la pin chi gang tu da ya yin se la yan na pin da ya o te ta bu tin sam na ta ne nga bi ju ru chun ya ya ta 다 공파른 빛이네. 같이 녀모 마 총을 따야 공파른 빛이네. 같이랑 게 줄을 삼바든 이제 야지 쳇도야. 따야 다 드지진 되는 배서진 로고요레스.
Can you hear me okay? I'm a little, can you hear me?
Yes.
A little broken up. Okay, so so when we cultivate compassion, so who do we cultivate compassion for? We cultivate compassion for all sentient beings. It is exactly the same as with love that we mentioned last week. We start with our mothers, and then we think that all sentient beings have been my mothers. And so then we have it is in the same way as just as we have cultivated love for all beings, we cultivate compassion for all beings. So just like with our mothers, we can cultivate love for them. So we can also cultivate compassion for them. And for example, in the past week, we said that the way we cultivate love for our mothers is by remembering the 4 ways of kindness. So she has been kind to us in 4 ways. So again, these are, the mother gave us this body, and also she sustained our life, and she taught us about the world, and she endured many hardships for us. So that's the kindness of the mother. And just like with love, this is also how we cultivate compassion. We remember the kindness of our mothers. And so no, when we practice when we practice cultivating compassion, from the Mahayana perspective, we should not think just only this mother, but all sentient beings have been my mothers. And so, for example, if there is somebody who is harming you, then I always say offending you in any way, then even more so should you have compassion for that person. Even especially for that person, you should feel great compassion, especially the ones that are harming you. So because they accumulate a lot of negativity by harming. So everyone has been my parents. And so, for example, that person that was my parent or that's harming me, when they were my parent, they were extremely kind to me. So just like my mother now. But then I did not repay their kindness. And as a result now, they come back as a karmic creditor to harm me. And so therefore, I must feel even greater compassion for them. And if compassion arises for them, then actually you have benefited from that. If you do not feel any compassion for them, and another person comes and offends you or speaks to you harshly or gives you a hard time, difficulties, then you would just get really angry at them. And also that really is your own loss. So you will feel upset and you get really angry, and it creates a lot of difficulties in your mind. You're feeling very unhappy in your mind, and you're thinking about this was wrong and how can I pay them back, and you try to find different ways of like kind of retaliating, revenging that harm that you have received. So even just to think in this way already is such a hardship, isn't it? So if you have compassion, then you wouldn't go through all of these hardships in your mind at all, this trouble in your mind. Then you would just feel that, he's just mistaken for feeling that way and for harming me that way. And so now saying he, I mean, not speaking just about male individuals, so male and female alike, they can give us difficulties. So no matter whoever gives you difficulties, if you have compassion, you will be able to accept the difficulty. So compassion is your companion, your supreme protection in this life and also in the future. So it is said that compassion is your own kind of protection, and it protects you, and it protects others, or a kind of similar word. So it kind of safeguards others. For example, nowadays during the pandemic, we are wearing the face mask, and there's this slogan about the mask where it says that the mask is for your own protection and also to protect others. So that is like love and compassion, your own protection and the protection of, or the safeguarding of others, the care for others. So how does it protect you? I mean, it protects you in a sense that when somebody else hurts you, harms you, you wouldn't get angry, or you don't get jealous or resentful and so on. You are happy, you stay happy. And that's how it protects you. It doesn't make you miserable, and it doesn't make you be afflicted. And if you don't become afflicted, you will not take birth in the 3 lower realms. So it protects you from anger and jealousy and so on. So you can see that it really protects you. And then how does it protect others? So if somebody else harms you, no matter what they do, you wouldn't think that, no, I must revenge, or I must do something, I must respond to that. But you will just feel this poor thing, he's mistaken, but you will want to help them even more. You will feel even more compassion. So that's how you protect others. So this is just like a very small example, but it can become really vast. For example, in terms of protection, it protects you from the suffering of samsara, and also it protects others from the suffering of samsara. So this love, if you have bodhicitta, this love and compassion, that's really your jewel. So that's why we say it's like a precious jewel. It's your best friend. So even though you might have, if you've practiced and studied the Dharma for many years, for a long time, of course, that's excellent. But even if you don't know the Dharma so extensively, you surely need, what you really need is love and compassion. That is what really has to be integrated into your mind stream. And if you have that, then you really have the Dharma. You are a practitioner. It is said an outer sign of a practitioner is that their body, in their physical appearance, and their conduct, their behavior is peaceful and subdued. So, for example, when they speak to others, they speak very gently and very nicely, and also their physical activities are very gentle and very pleasant when they walk and when they talk and so on, when they sit somewhere. Whatever they do, it seems very pleasing. And So naturally, people will feel when they see such a person, they feel drawn to them and they feel inspired by them. It's because their conduct, their behavior is peaceful and subdued. For example, there are some Sangha members, lamas or monks who have such peaceful and subdued conduct. Also lay people, there are many lay people who have this peaceful and subdued conduct. For example, in their activities, they are very polite, very courteous, and they speak kindly and gently to others, and also the way they express themselves to others, their expression to others is very pleasant and respectful, and so on. So that is really what has to happen as a result of our Dharma practice. So the body, the conduct has to become peaceful and subdued, which is expressed in the form of courtesy and respect toward others and gentleness, and basically kind of a pure motivation, sincerity toward others. So that's how it should become. And if you have compassion, then certainly you will become like that. And so a sign is your external conduct is peaceful and subdued. And then it is said that a sign of meditation is an absence of afflictive emotions. So we practice the Dharma in different ways. We speak about listening, reflecting, and meditating. Meditating means to practice. It means to apply and really integrate the Dharma into your mind. So meditation doesn't just mean to sit in like a straight posture and meditate, but it means practice, and therefore it can really be unified. It can be, applied to anything that you do in your day-to-day activities. It becomes your practice. So then in your activities, your physical activities become peaceful and subdued, and likewise your mind, your speech, your conversation become peaceful and subdued. And also naturally, whoever you encounter, then you come across very pleasing, very pleasant conduct. So this is all arising out of compassion. So when you have that, then you will naturally, whatever you do, you want to help others, and you are sincere. The sincerity really comes from that. And it's not just limited to one or two people, but it's for all sentient beings. So when love and compassion has arisen for all sentient beings, then your outer expression becomes peaceful and subdued. So in body, speech, and also mind, you become peaceful and subdued. And in your mind, you become free of afflictive emotions. So we practice the Dharma for a long time. And all the Dharma practice that we do must result in a decrease of our anger, of our jealousy, of our negative thoughts toward others, our wish to harm others. So in brief, when the afflictive emotions decrease, then that's a sign of practice, a sign of meditation. And so that is what we need to make an effort in, because if we don't make an effort, then like these emotions will continue to remain within the mind. And so basically making an effort also means to endure and take it really step by step. It's just like when you want to go to a place, you have to go there step by step, one step after the other. If you just take one step, you won't arrive anywhere. So you need to take the first step and the second and the third. You just need to keep walking step by step. And so in this way, slowly, step by step, your love and compassion increases. And if you sustain mindfulness, then afflictive emotions will decrease. And then you will recognize, with mindfulness, you will recognize your own mistakes. So sometimes it is possible that a strong afflictive emotion arises. it is possible that you make a mistake. For example, that you say something, or that the way you act towards somebody, the way you treat somebody may be mistaken, and you also can't really blame yourself too much for it. It's okay to make a mistake, but it's important to see the mistake, to recognize the mistake, to really see, look at yourself and see, that was a mistake, I was wrong. And now it happened momentarily. I got angry at that person, and now I said something that really hurt that person. I recognize that, and in the future I will be careful. I will not do this again. I won't offend the person again. And so in this way, slowly the mind changes through compassion. So you recognize your own mistake, and you also regret, you feel remorse, and you don't want to repeat it again. You want to be careful in the future. So that's really what has to happen after our many years of Dharma practice. So we practice the Dharma, we keep practicing the Dharma, but then if our anger and our jealousy and so on do not get lesser, then also it is really of no benefit. So then, for example, when we look at our family members, like our children, or our mother and our father, and so then our feelings toward others of negative thoughts and frustration and anger and jealousy don't get lesser, then actually like if these people know that you're practicing the Dharma and studying the Dharma, and you still keep being unkind to other people, and you're saying things that really hurt them and so on, and you're getting all really angry at them, then these other people will think that the Dharma is really bad, because even though you're practicing the Dharma, that's how you are. So therefore we shouldn't be that way, but really actually see that this is the fruition of our Dharma practice. And it is that an altruistic mind arises, and whoever you meet, you want to help them, you want to benefit them. And so basically, it really has to become part of your being, your mind stream, you integrate it. And then only then slowly the afflictive emotions will diminish. And so basically, the stronger your love and compassion, the more it increases, the more the afflictions will decrease. And so until then, we have to make an effort.
Sambad hingi to tangaki nyamnesi gomdu tambong go zo nga namju sambad hingi chise yo zewa yonjo to sol chigirwa tinte Samal te tawache tini gontapa tindrilin bezo chigo yosares te mato ya sambadi hingi te rangla gapso yorwa rang tumbo ten champo yona tini te solo sambadi hingi che tini yena tini sambadi hingi ma che pa yena ta te yang tiga yomares sambadi hingi se yate simchi tamji le che kudu was kare se na simchi tamji rangi pama ma zepe chikyan mes pama sepe kabla rangla tinji changwa yinpa yin chikpa yins teni teni semchi tamdi deyan dupa yin chikpa res teni teni sama na nabi sambat ninji pa gom che maransu namgyun dungu yuwas semchi tamji segidwa semchi tamji dewa tang dewe jota dimbar chechi dunga ta dunga ji jotan chawar chechi sendi semchi tamji le dewa dingu do semchi tamji dunga ta chagu dos dunga ki Juda chepa chagudo sonne te ngasu tesam tanko yorwas tente changmal paninji kontubu yores ta changmasina simchisina kacheisen 장주즈 미바르was 남주 ngasu 송구도와 남케 가르쳐 심킹기 차 심킹 가르쳐 레다 뇽무 배차 레다 뇽무 배 가르쳐봐 이나 되나더니 동아 요레스 근데 심지 탐절 동아 요레 근데 대인도 근데 창만다 인지되니 빠도 공고레스 다랑하나서 창만을 때 동아 고요레스 동아 고요마 동아 잔도 요레스 얘나야 동아기 쥐빵마 히트때 동아는 누구 요레스 다랑한테 중요한 송고 요와스 대완도 자또 목베스 랑기 대와 자탄 뇽 동한 논도 샘유냐 동한이랑 umbar 조선 다 중요한 송이요. 대만 누구 요래 되냐 대베 저점이 땅 안에서 다 마렉 받아 뚜묵당. 근데 녀몽 봐 효체서도 근데 대베 저점 맡아 양을 좀 마시. 근데 다 동하기 다 먹여 버려. 나서 먹여 봐 타다 루나 이스미 거는 먹여 봐 망보 여러와. 대탐지더니 빵 맛이 양나 빵 맡아 양나 빵이 마주 너나 대 따보게 때문에 먹여 봐 나파 당가서 이랑 쇼르데난다 다 검송로와. 대대더니 먹여 봐 망보 산더니 대게다 공이 성나나 니 성그 동하나나 다 너나 따봐 콘도 고와나나 동하기 동한이랑 umbar jos 동한 누구 요 말에 대인의 동한은 준루고 그래서다 대인들이 대답다 심지 탐지를 다 아기 닌지 공부래서 다 닌지도 간대지 공부를 세나 배나 랑다 제와 치슈 랑게 하짱게 제와 치슈 양나 가든 치기 제와 치슈 마다부터 파다부터 다 소소 그배 뿌다부 땅아 제와 스치오나 되니 대다부 간사히 배 뭐임바게 세기 뜸로요나 야나 메르스 옴폴 타크요나 야나 운숨도 무게 시는 사진 퉁기만 무게 쉬어요나 야나 내 나창 임파게 배 나디요나 다 야마나 배 장와게 배 단 너는 사점이 무게 쉬어 공점이 뺀데 단 남시 자모나는 공점이 창행 쉬어 되는 미다 미바면 나차게 답에 나 던지기 깡이 침보 용도요는 다 가서 민기 찌기로 왔어 민기 맞지 탐이라 민기 찌기로 왔어 대답을 했더니 지난 민기 찌 구구를 찌어요 왔어 대는 코브 심지 탐지 빼나 냐바나 내데베 냐바 사부 동안 냐바 장어 동안 되니 여다기 동안 둔리 동안에 나데 심지도 장미 봐요 왔어 대 탐지라는 게 되니 파다 마마제 바랑 그 부마제 직접 미주 되니 대 탐지라 되니 hin지도 참을 공부도 왔어 되니 참마 되니 hin지도 파곰 hin지도 곰도 태부도 왔어 되니 대답을 되니 마기 hin지를 단도나 베스토스 냠는 치고 요사레스
So not all practices really included in love and compassion. And so it's basically love and compassion are practiced in a very similar way. So we start with someone that you love very much, someone that you really care for. And then you think that all beings have been just like that. And so that's important to really think that all beings have been just like that, because otherwise it becomes very limited. Maybe you feel compassion for those that you like and that you are close to, you get along with, but then you don't really, you can't really feel much compassion for anybody else. So that's not enough. But it needs to be for all sentient beings. And so therefore we need to recognize that there's not a single being who has not been our parents. And so when they were our parents, they cared for us with the greatest kindness, exactly in the same way. And so all of these beings, what they want is to be happy. That's they all share in common. They all want that. And so you must feel this love and compassion for all of them. So normally we make this prayer, we say, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, may they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. When you think about that, you remember that compassion for all sentient beings. You cultivate compassion for all of them. And so talking about this term all, sentient beings are so many, there are countless sentient beings, you can't count them. It is said that wherever space pervades, sentient beings pervade. And wherever sentient beings pervade, karmas, negative karmas and afflictions pervade. And wherever karma and afflictions pervade, suffering is present. So all of the sentient beings suffer, and therefore they surely are worthy of our compassion. Because do they want to suffer like that? Of course not. They don't want to suffer. They want to be free from suffering, but they don't know how to be free from suffering. They don't know the causes of their suffering. And so in the Bodhicharya Avatara, so it says that even though sentient beings all want to be happy, due to ignorance, they shun the causes of happiness, like they shun an enemy. And even though they do not want to suffer, they chase suffering. They run away from happiness, and they're running after, they're chasing after suffering, because they do not recognize that the cause of their suffering are the afflictive emotions. So even though they actually want to be happy, it is due to ignorance, delusion, and many afflictive emotions that they don't know the causes of happiness. Maybe they are not able to practice them. Maybe they don't know they don't know how to practice them, what they are. And likewise, it is due to delusion that we accumulate many negative actions, which are the causes of our suffering. There are many negative actions of body, speech, and mind. And sentient beings do not abandon them. They don't abandon them because they don't even know that these are the causes of suffering, or they know but they are unable to abandon them, or they know and they don't want to abandon them. Basically because we have formed a bad habit. We have habituated to negative action. And as a result of that, they continue to wander in the three lower realms over and over again. And suffering always manifests to them. So they don't want that, they don't want to suffer, but even though they try to avoid it, they always run right into it, into suffering. So for these sentient beings, we must cultivate compassion. And so how do we cultivate it? For example, you bring to mind someone that you love very much, someone that you have the greatest love for, or somebody who has been extremely kind to you, like your mother or your father or your children and so on. And then imagine that somebody kills them, or somebody beats them, or somebody cuts them, or they are burned alive in fire, or they are dying from starvation, not finding any food or drink, or they are extremely sick and tormented by pain, or they are freezing cold and they have nothing to cover their bodies and they die, and so on. For example, if you think about, like, if that is somebody you love very much and they are very sick and they suffer so much and they're in so much pain, you can't help but feel compassion. Of course you feel compassion. So even though we say we must cultivate compassion, it's actually naturally arises. It's not like we cultivate compassion because we have to, but we can't help it. It just arises naturally. We can't help but feel compassion when somebody that we love suffers so much. And so then, these are all the beings now in the hells, for example, who are tormented by heat and cold, or there is endless suffering for the hungry spirits or the animals. So there's just limitless sentient beings, and there's not a single one of them who has not been your parent or your child. So therefore, we need to cultivate compassion for all of them. And in our practice, we need to make an effort.
tate tabandona mingi ta mingi rangi ju mingi yupa tin mingi comfort tonya tate tabatin namjun betor sine tin nyamne chigo yores ta ngaran so namju tin ngondro nyamne sia sanchu lamzana na tin 닝제데 간디지 공구요레세나 마전 남카냐 베심치나 마주르도 또 케나와타 대제마르 단진 랍게네 힘비 닝진로 공 종마르 쇼서 당가라서 디 당훈도 냠미시인데 페나 티모마이 봉훈도 이안데시나다 장가 싸야 요르와시 다리 체퍼 공훈도 나는 위 고나더니 삼바데 닝지도 솔로 장가 싸고 문도시나 닝지 공고다 닝지 야젤 땅다 셈 주라 땅고요레스 대엔두더니 다사 잡츠글라 마존 남카냐 바탄 도르드나 마르 쵸르데다 마 남카 냠 심치 탐지 시거다 마 남카타 심치 탐지다 마인데 남카 카르 심치 찹데바 마 탐지 마주 르독 케스 르독 스나단 도 르독게다 동하 도와 르독레드니 동하 만다바 요르와 단 도나 동하 게 나데바 나디요디 데니 데 탐지 데니 동하레 조르켄시 다도 동하레 조르켄 데니 동하게 죠 가르슨 단진 다 나랑서 나 히반도드나 동하게 죠 탐지 윤콩 가만히 용용 그러스니까 단진에 중국 요송태야 나랑서 자세라니나나 요스 조버산지 임핀세는 좀 동하말이 다된도는죠 조버산지 임핀세는 총세요와 단 너는 동하 첨보이나리 니 송송그 동하 단 내가 그 동하 충충지 셈 마대와 빼는 거 나왔잖아 대 탐지하고 뭐게 저다 단진에 때는 뭐게 레사네 데려용 종아인 봤더니 샤다 차고 요레스 단진 시바데 나선다 나서 남주 나 사봉 짜치 못 주고 여러분 나다 그 르보 랑게 르인데 치데더니 나래 망고 사요 단 더드나 다때 때니 때다 동하게 저 차대요 그래서 다 동하게 저 빵고 그래서 나 히바다 되겠다 나서 누지요 그래서 뭐다 니와는 팬도니 뭐마데 나 히버셈 디테니테니 다 레망보산데 니와는 팬도고 마도 예수 지금 가서 니와는 팬의 뒤로 찍찍 요 말이에서 거다 나랑 팬도고 요레스 다라고만 유반나 가르쳐 걸으시나 당봉나 히달레 힌저징 당봉나 히바들 하장 나랑 힘받침고 되니 당봉에 달리 다긴데 힘을 찾기 위해서 되니 다 당봉나래 히더니 나에 당기더니 나랑 그 주노 롬주다 된 대다 탐질 되니 척바다 힘바 라소바 시네 다긴데 힘을 찾기 위해서 다들 힘바다 척바지네 되니 텔레tin 다 소충 친다더니 소충은 친다버신데는 코와는 콘루요레세 대답을 코버심지 다 단진을 띠네 단진 말에 발띠네 대답을 띠니 소중진은 로라 힘기 주간 텔런도 단 도든 로와심지 탐지 도나 다 말이 빠다 단진 띠네 콘루요레 대한데더니 대답을 띠니 심지 탐지는 힘지 공고레서 다른 안서 힘지 공도 힘지들 숨쉬게 대친 닝지 담보데 심지는 믿고 닝지스 출을 믿고 닝지스 믿고 믿고 닝지스 숨숨도 와서 출을 심지는 믿고 닝지스인데 다른 하나서 다 심지 탐지 동안 통용으로 와 빼는 선숨 심지는 동안다 다 나랑 그 메기 무슨 통운들이 다 심지 임바 빼나 나차 포데 봐야 주부 매야바 다 강이 윤조도 좀 통운들 가서 닝지 제도 와 어때 심지는 믿고 닝지스 출을 믿고 닝지스인데 다 따라 단진을 때는 레사요다 동안유에 그 저상거다 텔 때는 출미 hinges 다라 공도 망보 히바 임바 뭐 임바가 딱 나는 누지 용아이나리 다 논트지가 요나리 hingi 제고래 세야데 출미 hinges 가르시나 디 레니 바산티는 동하고 저상에 때는 동안은 동안 나는 총루로 왔을 때 대답을 hinges 미바미 hinges 심지 탐지 찍자 이자만 반다운드나 다 거기서 랜드 하마와 제네다 고안나나 코리아게 지목에 산테 탐지를 되는 미바미 hinges 나를 야보 신이 밖에 말이 심지 탐지를 닌지 공부레스 다양한 닌지 고마케는 소소기치 나랑 야보 진이 도sol은 닌지 고 예나 닌지 막은 되고 말 나랑 차당세야 지와 차당 람소로 차 인소로 당세 닝기 요나 되니 차당 걸로 해고 차당 걸로 미고 차당로 미네 되니 닝기 요나 다 닝기 문에 쳐요 나는 참자 닝기 땅 삼바데 닝기 뜻서 착바데 놀리 니카요 숨구도 하스 나마나 기비 힘이나 봐 착센다 닝기니 참자 논로야 착센다 삼센도 논로야 연구였어 다 닝기지 창만의 지혜원은 다 때문에 야버려 닝기도 카헬지 삼바드 닝기도 카헬지 카헬 맞게이나 다 대착과 차대요 대리가 오늘 이게 창만의 지혜원이래서 심지 탐지 대답다 냠내시는 도나 다 나게 샘 주라다야 다 닝기시 조롱하게 샘 주라단다 이나 동할에 타야 저렇더니 닝기 컴포트단 근데 대답 되는 배소시 냠는 시고 홍로 냠는 시인들이 삼바트 고미야 되는 닝기 고미야 또서 공고 생된 또서 삼노당 짐치는 삼노당 오 심지는 민비 닝기스는 가래리도 야 줄을 민비 닝기스는 가래리도 민바 민비 닝기스는 가래리도 좋아 닝기스는 코란 가래리도 기 민비 짐치 가래리도 기는 핀도 가래 연구도 근데 또 솔라 삼노탄에 되니 민지 담 베조스네 고는 건도 버려야 되니 베조스 거레스 대대니 또 건도 난 이슈를 바이스 근데 민조드는 다 좋아카 해지 지나는 봐 가자냐 가서 좋아하면 뭐 하디 어디야
As in brief, we have to practice in stages, gradually, slowly increase our compassion. And so in our sadhana, the excellent path to enlightenment, the corresponding verse is on page number 58. So second, cultivating compassion, may self-grasping, ignorance, the cause of all intolerable suffering that mother sentient beings, limitless space, must endure in the 6 realms be fully pacified, and may all beings care for one another with altruistic compassion. Previously, in the 4 uncommon preliminaries, we had to accumulate a certain number of accumulations. Here, with love and compassion, there is no account, no number count to accumulate, but it's something that we have to cultivate, meditate on. We have to habituate to it so that it actually changes our mind. So it says all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, meaning that all beings have been my mother. And so not only some, but all beings. And so all of these beings are now enduring endless suffering in the 6 realms of samsara. So I wish that they all be free from that suffering. So that's the essence of cultivating compassion. And so they all suffer in samsara, and that suffering has a cause, and that is self-grasping. It is this constant thought of me, I, and that's the source, the origin of all suffering. In the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. The perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. And so whether, no matter what kind of suffering it is, whether it's the greatest suffering in the 3 lower realms, or just the small problems, feeling unwell, or just having a headache, for example, no matter what it is, everything that is dissatisfactory to us has a cause. And the cause is negative karma, negative action, which all arise from self-grasping. It's this thought of me, I'm most important. That's where it all comes from. And it's with this me that's so important that we accumulate a lot of negative karma. It's then identifying with the body, and for the sake of me, the body, I accumulate a lot of negative karma. And that is the cause of suffering that has to be abandoned. So what throws you into hell, what drags you down into hell, is nothing else but this thought, me, and all the karma you accumulate in relation to that. there's nobody who comes and takes you and kind of forces you down to hell, but you're really doing it with that thought of me. In the Madhyamaka Vatthara, or Entering the Middle Way text, it says, so first it begins with an attachment to yourself, the me. And then that attachment to me develops into an attachment to everything that's mine, like my possessions, my wealth, my enjoyments, and so on. And it is that me, this attachment to the me, that keeps us stuck in this circle of samsara, like an ever-turning wheel. And so it's that self-grasping, which is the ignorance of sentient beings, that causes them to wander in samsara. We need to feel compassion for them. And there are three kinds of compassion. There's the compassion that that has sentient beings as its object. And then there is compassion that has like dharma as its object, or phenomenon as the object. And then there is the unobjectified compassion that has no object. So first, the compassion that has sentient beings as their object. So that means there's an object, a sentient being. You see someone who suffers, you know that they suffer. For example, you think about the suffering that sentient beings experience in the three lower realms, or you might directly actually see somebody suffering. For example, when somebody's really sick, or when somebody has some physical impairments and have a lot of suffering and pain. When you see that directly, or when you think about that, then compassion arises for them. So that's the compassion that sees sentient beings, or has sentient beings as the object. And then the compassion that has or dharma as an object is to know that the reason why they suffer. So you know that they suffer because of karma, because they have accumulated the cause for suffering. So that's why now they suffer. So therefore, when you know that, as you mentioned before, even if somebody harms you, you would just feel compassion for them, and knowing that that they're just making a mistake, and you would feel compassionate towards them. And so that's the compassion that has the sees the dharma as an object. And then you know that there's a repercussion from negative actions. And then the unobjectified compassion that has no object means that there is no specific object. It's not like one or the other sentient being, but it's all sentient beings without any bias. All sentient beings. They all suffer because of these causes. So unobjectified means it's unlimited. So it's not that you feel compassion only for those who are nice to you and not for anybody else. But that would not be okay. But it's no matter for who, for all beings, without any bias, unconditional, you would feel compassion. Because once it becomes biased, then you feel compassion for those who are good to you, those who you are attached to, and then you have no compassion for those you don't like, you have an aversion to. And so without any bias, you need to have compassion for all of them, because the point is that we need to free ourselves from attachment and aversion. And only if your compassion is unbiased will you become free of attachment and aversion. And only that is real compassion. And also many of the spiritual teachers have said that sometimes it's possible, there's this danger that we kind of mix up attachment with or desire with love and compassion. So sometimes we kind of confuse them. We think that actually we think it's compassion, but really it's just attachment or desire. So that's one thing to be careful about, because we sometimes mix that up a little bit. And so the way to overcome is when we feel compassion for all, that is unbiased, not just toward someone or something that we have a particular liking for, not just some, but for all. So this is the compassion that we need to cultivate. So, and it's that compassion for all beings, and that actually transforms your mind. So most important, again, it is that thought that wishes to liberate all beings from suffering. And that is what we may have to make an effort in. And so in a preliminary practice, as in the context of cultivating love and compassion, we need to actually cultivate, we need to habituate. So the practice here is to really integrate it into your mind. And the way to do that is to reflect about the reasons. For example, why do I need to cultivate compassion? First of all, what is compassion? And what is the compassion that sees sentient beings? What is the compassion that thinks about the Dharma? And what is the compassion that is unobjectified, unconditional? So what is compassion? And like, why is it so important that I cultivate it? And what's the benefit of cultivating compassion? So you reflect in these ways. And in this way, through reflection and a real like pondering it, this is how you make an effort in increasing your compassion. And so for tonight, we stop the teachings here. Maybe from last time, there were still a few questions, so we will answer a few questions.
Hi, Ina. There's a question here. Will you teach us on the way to do the breathing techniques?
Die ihre die lung komdan yore ba de ngaso sungi imbe
ya ta koran te khatang heman lagu lapsa te la nga so tik de da long de lung lo re lung lo guchok de tara chotna nga so tara Ngondro ya pa ka yin na de chetang nga so ta nyam ni si de choga ngao ya lang de tini nga so te rang ke sem chang ma zo ya long chang ma zo ya ta tu sung do tini lu ke ne sem je ne long ke ne su sung du du tini ha ko long ke ne ro chi yung gu yo sa ya te long lo sha ya te
So this is a question as we already asked before. So the 9 fold kind of breathing practice. So that can be really incorporated in the Ngondro or any other practice that you do. And so you practice it when you wake up early in the morning. You want to purify your mind and purify your wind energies. So we speak about there are these essential points, like vital points of the body, vital points of the winds, and vital points of the mind. And so regarding the vital points of the wind, so there are practices to kind of expel the stale wind or purify the winds.
Ta shogang hao ya lang de teni long bu se teni long de tangbo yang teni ma tang de ji ge teni long de chu ngom de teni long chang ma chang ngom de nao na ne ya ngom de teni ma nyen na na de na da te wa na da ma long de ngom do ta kale ma ngop teni 대 차들이 롱도 철 양설 철nga 연거와스 롱 부스 전부에 그래스 다 철ngo 용어 갑라 롱 장마 철ng인데 되니 파롱도 땅 용어 갑라 되니 랑게 다 mikpa zongo mikpa zongo kar zongo sena tan dor dina rangge chi lunga yesing sa ya petne nyomong patang ta 자다 롱라서 발드니 야 도스가 도드는 단 도드는 녀몽바 그래리 대 탐지드니 남바데드니 도와나 이스네드니 마 슬로르나 요도 아스 안든지 삼탕고 that long good troops and do the need tambo ya now ye pani ya do do the need yung pani ma tang ting ma sum the need yang te the yung pani ya do ye pani ma tang ting ma sum the need yang now ya yang the need ya ma bu don't te ta se the need ting ma sum se ta don't be ting ma ga cha yo do asa mi pa chi pa cha yo
So you're getting up early in the morning, and so you're practicing with the inhalation and the exhalation. And so on the inhalation, so for the visualization first, on the inhalation, you think that you're inhaling the pure wind energies, and then you're bringing them to your heart or your navel, and you're kind of leaving them there. And then when you're exhaling, you visualize that you are expelling, sending out all, purifying all the negativities of body, speech, and mind, and the afflictive emotions, which are like winds in your channels, and which are like toxic winds in your channels. And these all leave you in the form of like a smoke to the outside. They're all expelled. And so there is this 9-fold breathing practice. And so for that, first you inhale through the right nostril, blocking the left. And then so you inhale through the right, and then you exhale through the left. And you do that 3 times. And then you switch sides. So then you inhale through the left and you exhale through the right, again 3 times. And then you inhale and exhale 3 times through both nostrils. So then you have 9, a total of 9. And the visualization for all of them is the same.
long ya kubunan ngom di des zong tunan de yus des ma zong ka che zong tu zong tini ma long pe na di chen chu dos tini long de ya ngom de dambo de la long ya ngom de tini chong si ya tini ma tang de di na yi tini shu chung chong se ma tang tini ni ba de la lo yang ngom de shu des che zang ya teni ma bu de yang shuk che za ma bu simba de la teni ha chang in jampo teni ya ngob de kale ya ngob teni ma ta de kale ma ta ya teni chi teni long de yang ngom de ko zop ta no ji ta ran zhe na yi ji go son zhe sin ne yo wa dambo ya zhe de zhe ni de chao ma yo wa ji bon bo yo wa di zong si yang ngob tang 제신데 담보 안감디 칼레가 드니야 슈치레 땅 드니야 칼레 만참요인데 칼레 충로하다 든지리노
So then if you're able to retain the winds slightly, just a little bit, then that's best. Then you inhale and you very briefly you retain the winds before you exhale. And so then the way in terms of the force of inhalation and exhalation, so each side there's 3 sets of 3. So in one set of 3 there's 3 steps, right? So the first one, when the first inhalation is always you inhale the air very like kind of like a long, kind of more gentle. So then you exhale it the same way. So you exhale it just like not like in full force, but just kind of a moderate, not kind of a little force. And then the second inhalation is this, so then you inhale very forceful, it's stronger inhalation, and likewise you exhale very forcefully. And then with the third one, then it is a very gentle and slow and kind of elongated inhalation and exhalation. So the first one is shorter, the second one is stronger, and the third one is gentle. And then the way you should kind of visualize the inhalation and the exhalation is, if it had a shape, it has the shape of like a barley seed, which is more narrow, you know how it is, and it is more narrow on the tips and more broad in the center. So just like that. So first, the narrow tip means when you inhale, or when you inhale, it is more like a small, like a slow, and then it becomes stronger in the middle, and in the end it becomes small again. So just like the shape of a barley seed.
Nisi sampo rang lut tene kamba dorji chudon chajeta tene namnang chudon sineta zubo de yakto yugo yores kazang ma hyu tsari wata pache gongo yoje namnang chudon.
And then regarding the physical posture, you assume the 7-point posture of Virachana, such as having your legs in a cross-legged posture and sitting straight and so on. So we mentioned that before, and so you probably are familiar with that.
Tene lapa tende chi tambo zubo de tende chi.
So this is what you do with your thumbs. You keep your fingers like that.
Tene de chi poho ni tena ya lapa tena.
And then you put your hands onto your knees.
Lapa ye pat.
Then the right hand.
Yung pat tena ya. Teka.
Block the left nostril.
Tabo now ye panane.
Then you inhale through the right nostril.
Tene te cha den de chi.
Can you do like this?
Yung pat
Block the other. Block the right nostril. Inhale through the left 3 times.
Lapa yung pat.
The other side, left hand. Exhale. 3 times. Put down both hands. And then you inhale 3 times, exhale 3 times with the same visualization. So then I will demonstrate that to you. So you put your left hand here on your elbow.
that the rendo chico, no good Yanin Chita, the rendo chain with the us. Teta Namjunga showing how Yaland, the Kadichin and the Gota. Chiran Tijul Yamni Unari, Yamni Minari, Donna de long Samazoya pay up for your rest that long.
So this is the ninefold breathing. And ideally you do it early in the morning upon awakening and or whenever you can. And also whether or not it's followed by practice, even if you don't necessarily practice right after that, it's still a good thing to do early in the morning because it purifies your winds and your channels.
I thought trying but
One more question. Two more.
Right. The next question, are these hell realms also present on earth? And it is just that we do not have a perception of their presence.
Teni nearby exemption then so young so jumbling your what is a come to like dinala your ways thing and some teaching and so then make it tongue ma tum na yang constitution you see it river and make my tongue is nearby exemption jumbling to like your didn't we already have this question the other day?
Yeah, we did. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So the next question, we pray that may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of all beings, but how does a Buddha actually help the beings in the 6 realms? Other beings have reached enlightenment but the 6 realms still exist. So how does Buddha actually help to empty the 6 realms?
Tini the sangis ya tini semchen tamche dover to semchen tamche ki tun sigi yores no tini lapke yoraba yinayang tini kasa khala dun sigi yusaraba yinayang tadong dover to ki donar yoraba tavan meba chagi yomaraba the tendu tini sangi semchen ki tun khandana was sigi to nangdo tun sigi sayade
Re tun sayade ngāng tsū ngō kā nī ngā tsū tsāngmā kīn tōyān rō, sāmo tāyān rō jī ngō kā nī shū yā pa yé na sāngjī kī sīm jī tōng sī sēyā tē sāngjī tāmbō kā pa chāmi sīm tū tsō sā drupā jāng nē thāng ngō pa dzō pa sāngjī yā tē sīm jī ngī chī tē chē pa rē sī tē tsār tū sīm jī tam jī lā tē nī chū chūng khō lō rōmbā sīm kō rī yō rā wā sī 추중 콜로 숨 꺼내 심지 탐지라 내외 견들이다 지나서 내가 거는 너르고래 동학이 견들이다 너 제나들이 동학이 저 빵거 요래 세네들 게덱 빠는 네 담배 추중 콜로 꺼내 네 심지 탐지라 게덱 란도 란톤 세바데다 심지 좀 드리지니 지게 요래
so
아주 심지에 산지 칼 많이 왔지. 되네 소소게 롭병에 맞지. 되네 냠리 맞지나 되네 산지 그때 진지랍 두고 만들어스. 가스 산지가 송원나이 세네 되네 냠리 세나 되네 진지랍 두고도스. 나라서 짬로 세네 짭로 세데 가래 잡고스나 코 동할 잡고 요래서 걸었어. 동할 간디진이 잡고 요래서나 산지를 잡순디 지난 예만 지요 맞다 라고요 말해. 오 지난 나도는 나차팅이 밀리지르고 요다스 대 산지가 송고요 말해서. 가르스나 지난 예발을 지요나라 지난 나차 나요나라 강이 참마들 주지요레스. 다 뒤주드 늦지니더니 준르레스 단더 늦지니 파미 발시고레스네. 다 산지가 남동선다 게데 남동세야 돼 산지가 생각되래서 다 산지 코네가 송요로 와서 로봇 동화 사가 설명이 송 산지 심지가 동화 공부 미바서 두고 말해서 로봇 동화 사가 설명이 니제 똑바 이해는 뻔하다 산지가 투유고 용된 심지기는 때 투고요 말해서 진이 딘바딘베 조완 열선 다 추제 내록 따라 렘데게 내록 마티 야바 다 대냠네 전에 심진 코와는 좋다 봐. 되는 거부 동안에 좁다 봐. 던지리서네. 아주 짬을 잡자 해야 되는 담보 대신 거로 와서 저 나라 타바랑을 알아 시버시스 뉴드 시에다 다 지난 거네 동할 잔도 요데미데 다 지난 라바는 요리다 시고다 내내 지난라 탈바 탑딘도 어서 내 지난라 동할 탑딘이 띵이요스 다 지난 타바는 로드 지난라마리스 다데 산지 돈 던지진 지거다
So to explain that maybe from our perspective, from our kind of what we can actually directly see or witness. So how the Buddha accomplishes the benefit of sentient beings. So first of all, it begins with the Buddha in the very beginning having cultivated bodhicitta, and then throughout 3 endless aeons, the Buddha accumulated merit and purified obscurations, and in the end, he attained complete, perfect enlightenment. All of that for the sake of sentient beings. And then after he had attained enlightenment, then also for the sake of sentient beings, he turned the wheel of Dharma 3 times. And basically what he said when he turned the wheel of Dharma, he said that this is the cause of happiness. So if you want to be happy, you have to create it. You have to create this cause. This is the cause of suffering. If you don't want to suffer, you have to abandon this cause. So the Buddha showed the path of virtue and non-virtue, and what to do and what not to do for the sake of sentient beings. However, if we don't listen to the Buddha, if we don't learn about what he said, if we don't practice his teachings, the Buddha cannot bless us like that. The Buddha cannot just, we cannot just like become free of our suffering and get all the blessings without practicing and listening to what the Buddha had taught. And this is actually something that we learn in the beginning when we take refuge. Why we take refuge in order to be free from the suffering of samsara, to be protected from suffering. But how are we actually protected from suffering? It's not that the Buddha, when we take refuge, the Buddha will not let us go to hell. It's not that that because of that we will not go to hell. Or, for example, it's not that since we take refuge, the Buddha will not let us be sick. And if we're sick, the Buddha will heal us. Whatever difficulty, whatever suffering we encounter, the Buddha will not just come bless us and take care of suffering and will make sure we don't suffer. This is not what the Buddha does. This is not how the Buddha acts for the benefit of beings. The Buddha shows us the cause of our suffering. He says, so you suffer, so you're sick. So that's why, that is the cause. If you don't want to suffer, you have to get rid of that cause. So what the Buddha did, the way he benefited others is by showing the path. That's the blessing of the Buddha. The Buddha himself, he said that I cannot eliminate the suffering of sentient beings. My realization cannot be transferred to them. I cannot give them my realization, but I can show them the true nature of reality, which is the workings of karma and karma cause and effect. I can show them the nature of karma. And if they practice it, they will become liberated from samsara. Then they will be protected. This is what we learn when we first take refuge. And in the end, the Buddha said, liberation depends on yourself. So the Buddha said, I can only show you the method that leads to liberation, but liberation itself depends on yourself. Therefore, if you want to be liberated, free from suffering, it's in your hands. It's up to you. All I can do is show you how to, give you the method. But whether or not you actually walk that path that I've shown you, that's entirely up to you. So this is how the Buddha benefits sentient beings.
Yana chung kaya meshejo je yana tene pamake o te to rida to te mazal nagri shugri sen pamake pul lam to chena tene pugi nine dote maziba yena tene pugi naya tan cheya yungu mando pugi maniba che dote suna tene naya tan cheya yungu doa pe tene naya do su chate tene pama job tobu mando do korang su charo pu korang pe di na yir 산지 게데 람도 신 오 치라 디바 마들 마도 동아 용어리 다스 탈람톤 지 다 치랑 산지를 대바 요나 산지 깔 준요 요나 치랑게 디바 지게 말바스 디바 마지 차디 치랑 동아게 좀도 동아 용어도 와스 데 산지 신압 가스 치랑게 산지 칼 마뇨네 치랑게 디바 듬나 근데 지난 득바 용용 깔라 산지기 야타 지난 득바 등이 미바 진도기 인다스야 대 산지기 투고요 말레스 가르스는 콜레 랑사 야드 랑시바 보라니 민기요 아 랑레 사바데 랑레 상고레스 데이터 넘버 코랑 투모 많이 배 체추 데려왔어 랜드에스 산지 체주대로 산지가 지난 게 늑바 미바 쓰기 송고가 말아 산지 실업 침벌에서 디디니 요거다 대학고 그러봐 대학고는 거 내록 송으로 왔어 아 마동이 지난 송이 늑바 미바 진로 인다스 내 지난서 신칸 린로 인다스 로와 근데 산지가 송고 못다스 신칸은 로사나 지난서 로 랑방에 라고스 언좀으로 지난 시리스 지난 예발라 언로 문로에 치안 시그레스 마송마게 랑강에 로마고에 랑강에 띵고스 이나야 언로 문로 치안 시리스
So, for example, a little child doesn't know anything. The parents can show the path to the child. So, for example, the parents can tell the child, don't eat poison. If you eat poison, you will get sick, you'll die. And if the child listens to the parents and doesn't eat the poison, then the child will not get sick and die. But if the child does not listen to the parents and eats the poison, then the child will get sick or die. And after the child has eaten the poison, there's nothing the parents can do to protect them. It already had ingested the poison. So it's very similar to that. The Buddha can show us what to do, can show us the path. So the Buddha can say, that's non-virtue. If you do that, you will suffer. And if you have devotion to the Guru and you really consider the Buddha's instructions, then you will listen and you will not do that. You will not commit any wrong, because it will lead to suffering. And then if you have created the cause of suffering, you will suffer. And if you do not create it, then there is no way you can suffer. So that is what we call the blessings of the Buddha. The blessings of the Buddha is not that the Buddha will just come and miraculously erase all of our negativity. The Buddha actually himself said, I cannot do that. He said, I cannot erase, get rid of all of your negativity in your mind. I cannot do that. If you have accumulated karma, then you will have to experience it. So that's just the nature of things, and the Buddha can't do anything about it. So the one who has accumulated karma, that's the one who will have to experience its results. And so the Buddha, that's actually this teaching on that the Buddha gave on karma. That's actually like the special quality of the Buddhist teachings. That's what's so special about the Buddha actually, because the Buddha did not say that I will come and I will take away all of your negativity. I will erase everything negative. The Buddha actually said, I will not do that. I cannot do that. You can only do that yourself. All I can do is show you the nature of things. I can help you develop wisdom to see that. But the Buddha actually never said that I come and I will take away all your negativity, or I will come and I will bring you to the Pure Land. I will make you be born in the Pure Land. The Buddha cannot do that. The Buddha never said he would do anything like that. The Buddha just said, okay, if you want to go to the Pure Land, if you're interested in going, I can show you how to get there. I can show you the path. But then whether or not you actually go there, it's up to you. And similarly, I can also show you like how to not go to hell. I can show you the path and what not to do in order not to go. No, if you don't want to go to hell, that's what you have to do. But I can't stop you from going there. It's totally up to you whether or not you actually go there.
Another question. So the next question is, can samsara be freed from all these hell realms? Can it be free from all these hell realms?
Korva seadi dini korva nangla nialva di mevas otokitu es pena korva korang donarle korva korang nialva le tartukitu es. Can samsara be freed from the hell realms?
Chirang hedang de mipa zo tugu yuna, chirang oka ni nyawa de mipa zo tugu dosi. Kazi chirang hedang de mipa zo tugu mina, nyawa de mipa zo tugu mandosi. Karisi na, nyawa korang ge jyon ro, de karisi ni hedang ryo. Hedang mipa zo tugu yuna, nyawa mipa zo tugu do, hedang mipa zo tugu mina, nyawa mipa zo tugu mandosi, an tongda tere.
So actually, samsara, hell is samsara. So it's basically, no, that's the answer to the question is like that. So are you able to get rid of your own anger? If you are able to get rid of your own anger, then from your own perspective, you are able to get rid of hell. If you're not able to get rid of your own anger, then you are not able to get rid of hell, because anger is the very cause of hell. And whoever is able to eliminate anger is able to eliminate hell. So there are some who can get rid of hell, and then there is others who cannot get rid of hell.
Thank you.
So that's why I can't give one definitive answer, like in terms of can you or can you not eliminate hell.
Right, thank you. Should we stop the questions, or does Rinpoche wants to answer a few more?
Yeah, one more, because many questions, right? Left many questions, right?
Yeah, many questions. Okay, one more. Okay. Some prayers end with the sentence until the end of samsara. Would there really be an end to samsara?
Menlam khashegi jugla korba matongi parto tina mazogi pato tina songi yoraba yena yang korba languna ta yorwe tong to kitwe
Kiba chikchang tar kong pini twate. Ta kansa chiki ngoka samsara kowa ta yuba yusigi ro. Tara ngana so tara gewa dikpa pang. Tene semje nelo to ni chorsonga yana chirang onu kowa ta zore. Ro. Tene te ta semje nelo mato na. Tene kong kowa nan kondu yoro tene kowa ta mi bari. Tingolan kowa ta mi ba chanu yores.
So this actually this question is the same as the previous question. So from the perspective of one person, depends on the person, but one person, for one person, there could be an end to samsara. That is, if the person practices virtue, abandons non-virtue, and realizes the nature of the mind, so then for that person, there's an end to samsara. But another person who does not realize the nature of mind, they will continue to wander in samsara. And then for them, samsara can be endless.
다 그건 좋았더니 인데 산이다 좋아 참말린 자투연 배서 휴인스 근데 산이들면 다랑한 이 두차 유만나 좋아 망보 같이 연아 혼도 좋아 랩된 줄 여러봐 참말린 데빌 자투연 배서 휴인스
Yeah, so then we so then we stop here for today, and then next weekend I will try to answer all the remaining questions. There's still a lot of questions that we probably have not answered, so I will try to answer all of them next weekend. So sorry again. Every weekend, it seems like we are 30 minutes late with the Ngondro teachings. Anyways, please hope you don't mind. So we must have a certain kind of karma that we always end up exactly 30 minutes too late with the Ngondro teachings. So every single time I have the intention, I will stop exactly on time. Every time I think that, and then every time when at the end, it's again 30 minutes too late. It's just karma.
Karma more strong, more powerful.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Then I will go into the dedication.
Oh yeah.
May Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, arise where it has not been. Where it has arisen, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. By this virtue, may I achieve the all-knowing state, and by defeating all enemies' confusion, the cause of suffering, may all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara. In order to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows reality as it is, and just like Sampatabhadra as well, I completely dedicate all this goodness, just as they did. By the blessings of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessings of the truth of the unchanging, changeless nature, by the blessing of the indivisible assembly of the Sangha, may these prayers be accomplished as I have dedicated. By the virtuous accumulations of the three times of myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by these roots of virtue, may I and all sentient beings swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment.
Good night.
Good night, Rinpoche. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ina.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Rinpoche.
DTTL.
Om benza sato samaya manu palaya benza sato teno pa tiskari no me bawa Soto kayo me bawa, soto chayo me bawa, anarato me bawa, sarva siddhi me parayesa, sarva karma sutta me, siddham shiyam kuru, aha ho bangave, sarva tata gata bezama me veza beze bawa ma, sammaya sato.